Welcome to what I do believe is the 130th annual membership meeting. And tonight, I think you're in store for a lot of good information in terms of where we are, not only as a club, but as our future begins to unfurl with the 2020 strategic plan. Before we actually get into the meeting itself, I'm going to ask Ms. Carrie Pennington to come forward with the Columbian Singers and open up our meeting with the Star Spangled Banner. Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll expect an encore later on. Okay. I think the first thing I would like to do is recognize our board members as well as our departing board members. First couple folks is to recognize our outgoing board of directors. One, Ms. Josie Pennington, who I've noticed is standing back here, who has been an excellent person on the board for the last 8 years. Served as our president for a couple of those years and a personal mentor for me for a number of those years. I've always enjoyed her insight and guidance. We've truly enjoyed her contributions, and we're going to miss her going off. And Elizabeth Evans Flanagan is also leading us. She's one of the first board of directors to come in single, get married, have a child, and take over ownership of a company all within 4 years, as well as manage to hit every board meeting along the way. So I think it might be the first board member that would ever deliver a child during her tenure, but it was great. But equal importance, we have 2 new incoming board members. I'm going to ask them to stand. They're in attendance. Our first one is Anne Hathaway. And Lou, you're already standing?
I try to take orders well.
Stand up. So Lou Inslee is joining our board as well as Anne Hathaway. And they'll be, they are official as of this moment. And they will be joining us at the next board meeting, which is following Monday. So welcome to the board. Thank you very much. Look forward to working with you. We also have a number of our other board members in attendance, so all of the existing board members can stand and be recognized. I would appreciate it.
Sit down.
A number of them are donning the new Columbia Club jacket. We got those in just recently, and half of them came in and half of them did not, but half that are in are wearing them, the other half will have them hopefully by the next board meeting. But they look pretty, I think they look pretty snazzy myself. I think we look better than I really am. And of course, there's another individual who's part of the executive team, which is our immediate past president, Bill Butler. I know he's out here somewhere. Mr. Butler, will you stand up? Make sure I call him he said that, you know, he wanted to be called out and recognized in our first meeting, so I thought for sure he'd get a round of applause. So all right, let's get on to the state of the club review. I think tonight we got a lot of great things to talk about. I think the first one is moving forward and where we're going from here to our future. So I think what we're going to be talking about is what is the state of the club today, but of equal importance, what is the state of our intended future. So we're trying to write future history as we're speaking. So we're going to be talking a little bit about where we are, where we want to go, and how we're getting progress along the way. Our first report is our treasurer's report. Our board member, Dr. John McGough, and our CFO, Robert Gordon, will come forward and take over the podium. Thank you very much.
I apologize, Mr. President, for being out of uniform. My jacket didn't arrive. Well, good evening. My name is John McGough, Treasurer of the Columbia Club, and I want to give you a run-through of the 2018 financials. Our calendar audit was performed by L.M. Henderson, and the final report was issued on March 11th, 2019. I'm happy to report that the audit resulted in an unmodified opinion, which is what everyone wants from an audit. We have our auditor here, Mr. Jim Klein, partner. If anyone has any questions, he'd be happy to answer those. But one of the things he said in his exit brief is you guys are extremely fortunate, because he's seen our financials over the years, to have great staff, and specifically to have Mr. Robert Corrin, our new CFO, who just joined us 13 months ago. So thank you, Robert, So looking up at the slides here, the bar graph first to the left are the period ending December 31st, 2018. As you can see from the balance sheet perspective, our cash position improved to $217,000 compared to $79,000 at the end of 2017. Accounts receivable went from $799 to $666. And lastly, the accounts payable ended the year at $349,000 versus $532,000 last year. So if there's anything I'd like to point out about this, is that we're able to decrease accounts payable by $185,000 while increasing our cash position $138,000. That's a great place to be. Next slide. On this slide, you'll see that revenue from operations was relatively flat year over year, 2018 to 2017, being roughly $7 million. Total revenue, which includes the revenue from operations, as well as revenue associated with any pledges made, was $7.4 million versus just a little over $7 million in 2017. Lastly, on the final slide, you'll see that net income from operations was $203,000 in 2018 compared to a net loss of $215,000 in 2017. So total net income, which includes the aforementioned pledges, was $615,000 compared to a net loss of $195,000 last year. So for the sake of conversation tonight, I think it's important to focus on the left side here, which is the net income from operation, excluding the pledge revenue, and it shows the true performance of the club from an operations perspective. But it also highlights the improvements we've made from a cost perspective during this last year, which shows that even though revenues were relatively flat, we were able to turn a loss of $215,000 in 2017 into a profit of $203,000 during 2018. Lastly, with all the initiatives we've embarked upon, these are exciting times to be part of the board and the club. And even though it appears we've turned the corner from a financial perspective, we have to maintain a fiscal responsible posture for the projects that lie ahead of us. And we can only achieve that through the vision laid out by our president in the 2020 strategic plan by coming together in a consistent and deliberate manner. And that's why we haven't done so already, and I'm sure he's going to hit you up as well, that if we could all become members of the Platinum Society, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the financials. Okay. Yes, sir.
So where do we stand currently with the pledge revenue?
Sure. Jim will answer that. You saw what the difference was here from the 2018, and we have the 2019 pledges as well.
I'll try and answer that question. The question was, where are we with in terms of the overall pledge revenue? And at this point in time, we have our first 100 of the Platinum Society pledge members, which equates to about $750,000. Plus, we have some naming rights of about another $250,000. So we have $1 million, a little over $1 million in pledge commitments. About a third of that will come in, and a little bit more than that, because some people have already paid their entire pledge commitment up front. So we're expecting by about this time next year to be over $400,000 if nothing else gets committed in terms of revenue coming into the club. So the way the board passed a resolution that our intention is to make sure that as we unfurl the 2020 strategic plan, that we will incur no permanent debt for the club. And in doing so, and maintaining fiscal responsibilities, we will not request any construction that will occur beyond the anticipated receipt of the pledges. So that we're trying as best we can to time the construction expenditures with the pledge receipts. And so far, we're doing pretty good. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it might, just from a point of clarification, pledges made and revenue received are two different things.
Absolutely.
At this point, because some people are spreading that out.
Our CFO can speak to the GAAP rules if you want him to.
GAAP requires that no matter the time frame that the pledges are being made, let's say it's a 3-year pledge for $7,500, we recognize that as revenue during that current calendar year. So if you made a $7,500 pledge in 2018, we would have recognized $7,500 of revenue during 2018. Then we would set up a receivable on our books, and as those pledges come in, we'll offset that receivable. At the end of each year, we'll go back and we'll see what pledges were collected versus what was actually on our books. And then we'll make any adjustments of any pledges that may fall off, any new pledges that came on, we'll adjust that receivable and therefore the revenue or the expense if pledges fall off for the next year.
Okay. Other questions? Yeah.
On the same subject, are there studies that have been done that show the amount of pledges versus the amount collected? What's the default rate or how do you raise that?
I think the question is there any kind of evidence as to the pledge commitment, the expected fulfillment?
Right.
From my experiences and that which I have seen from other organizations, the fulfillment somewhere is between 92 and 97%, especially since the pledges committed so far are from long tenured members. Typically, your first year fulfillment is in the plus 90%, barring departure by unintended reasons like health and transfers. But I think we're pretty much expecting 92% overall fulfillment, and I think there's some empirical evidence to kind of validate that should be the anticipated effort. That's your question. Any other questions on financials? To kind of expand a little bit on what Dr. McGough said, I had the privilege of sitting down with our CFO and our CEO, Jim Rinsford, and we were going through our financials as we were anticipating interacting with our financial institution. And part of it was monitoring cash flow over the 12 months. And from my perspective as a business owner myself, cash flow is like the critical aspect of survival. If you don't manage cash flow, you're doomed to a lot of difficulty. But these two individuals have done what I call the near impossible. Not only were they able to respond and manage cash flow with the expenses to ensure we ended up on a positive black side of the revenue agenda all year long, but at the same time, our membership satisfaction and experience scores rose. And our Net Promoter Score went from like 58 to hitting 70. So to be able to manage cash flow and manage the member experience simultaneously, this both of them turn out in the end, shows me that one, they know what they're doing, and two, they're in total control. So I'm going to just hand applause for our general manager and our city. We are privileged to have such a rare combination of two very talented individuals. Okay, moving on to the membership report. Mr. Ritzler? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. How's everyone tonight? I'm going to talk a little bit about membership. You know, membership is the most important thing about this club. If we didn't have members such as yourselves, we wouldn't have a private club. And I just thought it'd be interesting to show you the household memberships by category. These are the different categories of membership. You can see the military members are on the rise. Corporate members, don't be scared because we don't per se have a corporate membership. That is how many members are in each classification from that club. From that business. So 3 or more members, they get a little discount the first year that they are here. That's what we need to go after, along with associate resident members and associate members. You can see 37 years old and up are our resident members. That's our base classification. Non-resident members are awful high also. Those are the ones that we need to appease because they pay dues, but they don't use the club as much as you all do. I'm looking through the crowd and I see my regular people here. It's great that you all came. You know, you always talk about that 80-20 rule. You know, 20% of the members spend 80% of the money. Well, here we are. Here you are. And thank you all for coming tonight. I will tell you, 2018's membership basically remained flat to last year. We had a net loss last year in 2018 of 13 members. That is, if you want to call it, the second best year we've had in 15 years. Back in 2010, we had a net loss of 9 members. But it's been consistently, you know, it's a real job to try to keep members happy and satisfied at the club at the same time as getting new members. And Tammy and Molly have done a great job. Audrey, previous to them, did a great job. But, you know, it falls on all of you to get your family, your friends, your peers, your co-workers, and get them interested in this club. Because this is really a gem. Now, there aren't many clubs like this. And again, as you all saw earlier on in the Columbian Magazine, through some of the emails, we got the Platinum Award again for the next 2 years. And we moved up from 45 to 35, so we moved up 10 spaces, and you know, we're considered by many one of the top 35 city clubs in the country. And that's a big deal. It's a great deal. Okay, so one new program we have for 2019 is Just One, the member referral program. I think most of you are familiar with it. It's a point system. It ends at the end of August. Yes, the end of August. And how do you earn points? This shows if you get to members, if you sponsor the different classifications, if you nominate a qualified prospective member, you get 1 point. And that's not an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or somebody that you saw in the IBJ. This is somebody that you have a relationship with that you can cultivate to the club, and then Tammy and Molly will take it from there and qualify them. Points be accumulated, like I said, through the end of August. Your total number of points will determine the prize tier, and I'll go into that. As it says here, 91 new leads. We got 5 new members in the first month of this program back in March. So that's pretty good. And those leads all came from Columbians. So that's pretty exciting. The reward tiers, as we were talking about, I won't go through each one of them. But I know some people, there's different awards for each person. Well, you're going fast on this. That's okay.
Got ahead of me.
I'll catch up. So I do want to call out one member, Chase Slaughter's chasing the crowd. I didn't see him. Chase has got 26 points because he's given us qualified leads, and one of those qualified leads became a member. So he's at 26 points. He's in Tier 2. Tier 2's prize package is worth $1,000. So he's already qualified himself for a $1,000 prize package. The next one, level 3, is $1,300, and level 4 is $2,200. And that's available to every member. So it's an incentive. I think it's a great incentive for the members to go out and get us qualified leads. Okay, the new and prospective member receptions, they've been going really well. We've come up with a new way that we present these, the last two, and I think that was the brainchild of Tammy down here. You all know Tammy Compton, right? She came up with the new format, which I think is great, that you cruise through the building, you get to see the different areas of the club. We have different managers in different areas and explaining, I get to do this at the Platinum Club one, and that's the easiest. But again, bring a prospective member, attend them if you can't bring a prospective member, because I'll tell you, the membership has been great at attending these events and interacting with the potential and the new members. It's for both. So it's a great thing. Do I have anything else there? No, that's it. That's the end of the membership report. Thank you.
Do we have any follow-up questions with regard to membership? All right, let's go on to the 2020 strategic plan. We began our strategic plan about 2017 when we conducted a market and brand assessment study. That study clearly identified where we were as a club within the communities that we serve, but it also identified the gap between where we are and where we could or should be to really align ourselves with the emerging needs, wants, and desires of the downtown community. Fortunately, Indianapolis is delivering to us one heck of a new downtown environment. It's going to have an excess of 50,000 new residents. The vast majority of them are professional, well-educated, and excited. And we're finally going to take our city to the second level where we have a viable nightlife as much as we have a viable business daylight. So I think that a club is going to begin to emulate that. So what we try to do is create a strategic plan to kind of take us to that level. And while each of our 9 venues has a specific and intended purpose, the collection of those kind of in aggregation raises the club to the next level. So the things that we got on plan is going with the rooftop bar, which I think has the highest level of popularity, followed only by the outdoor terrace and cigar lounge, down to Wi-Fi and overnight guest rooms. Now, I do know that it seems like we started from the lower level and moved toward the top level. And everybody said, why are you starting with lockers and Wi-Fi? Why don't we want to do the rooftop bar first? And I said, we actually are. It takes 18 months, I found out, unfortunately, from the idea to actually being able to walk and get through a finished construction. So we're kind of working our way through the design phase and the concept phase of each of these various venues. And each one requires its own individual planning, its own individual game plan. On the next slide, we'll kind of show you where we are. We started with the kickoff of the strategic plan following the market assessment study in July. And thanks to Steve Farrell and kind of a singular-handed effort, we now have high-speed Wi-Fi in our club. I was actually on my computer for the first time. I couldn't keep up with it. So this was really a marked improvement. And the best part about it is it's actually to no cost to the club. It's we managed to get fiber optics, high-speed Wi-Fi put into the club with 80-some plus ports of access, and we're not going to cost any more money to the club. So I think that is something that Steve did remarkably We are also next working on trying to move the overnight guest rooms. We do have a design concept, and we're going to show you those design concepts a little bit more. We have the, I think the renderings, we have the cost estimates. We're waiting on the final HVAC kind of mechanicals, but it is our intention is to have 2 to 4 new rooms renovated on 7th floor yet this year. So hopefully for the holidays, you'll be able to book a room in one of our newly designed overnight guest rooms.
Jim, so how many rooms of our total count, where will we be at the end of this year of renovated hotel rooms?
The game plan is moving forward. We're going to try and do 2 to 4 each quarter. And I think, given the fact that we've got 88 rooms, it may be in perpetual motion for now on terms as long as I'll probably be alive. If we get through the first 88, we'll have to start all over again because I'll be 20 years old. So I see no end in sight of continuous progress, if that makes sense. But we do have a separate funding mechanism. It is working, and it seems like things are working very well. I think what's caused us a little bit of delay is we're trying to negotiate the 88. So when you talk to a vendor about we need new heating and air conditioning, think 88, don't think 1 or 2 every 3 months. So we're trying to hopefully get kind of a group discount as we move through the effort. Then we also have our health and wellness expansions. Yes.
What you mean when you say you had a separate funding source?
The board set up a matching fund where we're using transactional fees when the service fee, 1% increase in service fee, the transactional fees to match the funds coming from the capital fund. And the estimated funds should allow us to kind of move through that menu of at least 2 every quarter. And we also have naming rights that are coming on to help fund it. So the cost of getting the renovations is being driven by member usage and naming rights. So those are the external funding sources outside of any kind of incurred debt. Health and Wellness Center. As you know, we built a beautiful health and wellness center. I think it's awesome. I think Josie kind of teed that up under her presidency, and
A lot of help.
but it moved forward and under her vision. And it had such a popular demand that we ended up with 50 people waiting to get a locker. We were hoping to sell out the first 90, and we sold out 140. So with that kind of demand, we are extended the new locker room. I think we now are going to be able to have all those 50 have a locker plus another 40 open. So if you're interested in a locker, now's the time to get one. They should be available to you within the next 2 weeks. So the locker room expansion is under construction as we speak. The lockers are in, and they're just putting the finishing touches on it moving forward. Co-working space and Platinum Lounge is the next on the work menu. They decided to kind of pull those together. So the design work for them is done, and we'll have that shown to us in just a minute. We're going to begin to kind of move those together simultaneously. Since they're both on the 5th floor, it makes sense to kind of do the demolition and construction simultaneously and to be as disruptive as we have to be during the summer months. The intended completion is to have both of those available for usage by the Christmas tree lighting. So we're hoping that if you want to observe the Christmas tree lighting from the Platinum Lounge on the 5th floor, make your reservations now, because it's probably a popular venue by that time. As soon as we get the co-working space done, which does include the business center, we can shut down the existing business center, a bit antiquated as it is, and then begin construction on the wine vault. Fortunately, the wine vault design, I think you're going to really like it. It looks pretty sharp. That construction should be completed hopefully by the end of this year and available for next year. In the interim, we're working on the infrastructure for the rooftop. It seems like you got to have new staircases, new stairwells, and new elevators, and new support beams. So all the work that isn't very sexy at all is going to take place with design for the latter part of the year, and hopefully begin the construction of the top part of it. For those with Wi-Fi, this is, if you haven't logged in, take out your smartphone, log in now, this is your password. Click on automatically connect and you will now have fiber optic high speed in the club. That takes us into the actual sign itself. Hopefully you got that.
Go back.
Go back. Okay, take a picture of it. It will make a difference the next time you log in, so make sure you that. Okay. Everybody got it? Okay. What I'd like to do now is bring
Can I add
up.
something on that? Just so everyone's aware, on the Wi-Fi, in an effort to protect the services, we will be changing the password on the Wi-Fi quarterly. We will have that always on your Monday email communication, so July 1st will be our next password change. You can also log into the member side of the website, and the first thing that you will see when you log in, just above the general manager's letter, will be the updated password. So I just want to make those of you aware that that is going to be changing every several months. Yes, Mr. Miller?
This is the same as what you mailed out to us, right?
It is. Yep, this is the same one that was in the mail. So that from the time that it went into play, February, we decided to skip the first quarter since we didn't have a full quarter. But July 1 is when we'll send out a new password. And again, email and on the member side of the website are two areas where we will have that. And then all the staff will also have it as well. We have some places at the front desk and the podiums at the Harrison room where we can write those new passwords down for you. But I just didn't want that to be a surprise, so that will be changing every quarter.
At this point in time, I'm going to turn over the podium to Sarah Schwarzkopf, who is the president of Roland's Design. And she's here to walk you through the intended look and feel of the venues that are on the line to start unfurling and rolling out for your usage within the next 12 to 18 months. So she's here to kind of sell the sizzle. So let's enjoy Sarah's description of what we're about to experience in a very near future.
Well, thank you for letting me be here tonight. We're very excited to be working with all the visionaries of the Columbia Club because they truly are visionaries. We're excited about what's coming. So I just wanted to start with the guest rooms. The guest rooms right now, as you know, we're going to do a couple of test rooms, if you will. And the furnishings that are going to be placed in these rooms are rather more contemporary than you're used to, I think. And the reason for that